Okay, so we're back in our main group. What's next on our agenda is sharing what we've discussed in our groups. And I would like to go first with our cup of tea group, if that's okay. Since would anybody from my group like to give a quick 2-minute summary of how our discussions have been going? Okay, I will. So we managed to discuss topics, patient partners and non-patient partners for the first 3 quarters of 2024. We developed we came up with some ideas of what we want to know more about for each theme. Some of them we have patient partners for, and some we have an idea how to get patient partners, such as talking with the researchers or health professionals who have the expertise in this topic and asking them who they work with that they might, which patient they work with that might be interested in partnering on this topic. And we have some non-patient partners listed as well. And some of the conversations we've been having is how there's definitely a lot to cover for each theme. And there's challenges we have in how to pick the right maybe article or discussion point for the themes. And I will continue that conversation further with our patient and non-patient partners that will be selected for each theme for the quarters. Does anybody have anything to add to that maybe I have missed from our cup of tea group?
No, I think it's easier to, I think we can, like you said, identify the clinicians or professionals we want to work with and but require the assistance of them to help lead towards the patient partners.
Which group would like to share next?
I could go. Do you want me to speak, sir? Or do you
Okay,
want to go?
website group.
Put me on the spot.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking about the website. So we didn't have as much time, obviously, as with all groups as we had hoped, but we were contemplating some ways to mock up the website together a little bit. And so we want to try and there is a section right now for article summaries. We want to make it a bit more broad and call it research results or something to that effect. And there was a really great suggestion, or I guess I'll stay here. So we're going to change this section probably to call it research results, within which we will have, we were thinking a section called research blog posts, and then subsections to kind of categorize those. So the plain language summaries would always be under there perhaps, and then maybe another category for the other quarterly blog posts. We haven't figured out titles yet, but something, and then maybe this doesn't need to be here anymore, we're still mapping it out, but basically a hierarchy of research results so it's really clear and everything's nested nicely is some of the feedback we got. And also the idea of archiving the newsletter. So while the newsletter content people get pushed to them if they're part of the community, while that's generally all in the blog, we think it'd be really nice to actually have a PDF or some sort of way to see the full newsletter as it looks when it's sent out to recipients, and that could be nicely saved under or as part of the blog's page, we think, something to that effect. And then we had some really good discussion about what would make the website better for each of the sections. So Serge and I are going to go back and try and mock that up and welcome feedback from others in the group who have looked at our website or who would like to design websites that are going to help us. But yeah, it was a good session.
Thank you. Social media and blog group. What have you guys done?
Michelle, did you want to, or anyone else in our group?
Sure. Oh. Yeah, is anyone interested in giving the synopsis?
You can go for it, Michelle.
Okay, yeah, sure. So we mostly talked about content for the blog as well. So we first started going over what would make interesting content, like what format of content. We talked about, the possibility of videos and slideshows and additional formats in addition to written blog posts. Who would create interesting content? There's kind of consensus that a mix of patient partners and clinicians, and a mix of both, being able to leverage all of our strong suits. And that kind of led us to planning based on each of the topics. So we came up with some post ideas for the blog, of usually a few per major topic that we went over prior to the breakout groups, and some potential authors, and both patient and non-patient, for each one that we could reach out to and who would make compelling content for each topic. So that covered, yeah, all of the topics we went over before, psychosocial treatments, second cancer screening, etc. And I think, this would translate nicely both to some of what the other groups were speaking about, as well as the social media of seeing what would make compelling content that people want to see.
Thank you for sharing that. Before I move on to my closing remarks, I wanted to ask anyone who has interest in helping develop some of these items. So I know in our breakout groups, some people were volunteered or have volunteered, and I'm sure the other groups have had volunteers as well. And since we weren't in each other's groups, if somebody heard of something that they're interested in, if you would like to volunteer to create a blog post and you weren't in the blog group, so you weren't able to put your name in that hat, I just want to remind everyone to, you can email us or send something in the chat right now before we're done the call, and let us know if there's something that you would like to be involved in, or even if there's something that you are interested in hearing more about and what being involved means, so that we can figure out what's the best way that you can contribute. So let us know if you're interested. There's different ways to be involved. It doesn't have to be a written blog post, as it was mentioned. It could be a blog, video blog post, or we can think of all the other creative ways.
Michelle, you have your hand up?
Oh yeah, just in that vein, I think I'd be happy to write a blog post or two, if you want to see. I think we're mentioning biobank, but in addition, if we do want to try out some of the video content, um, my microphone permitting, I could attempt some voiceover. We'll see.
Fantastic.
I see some chats. I want to make sure I capture. Oh, just some good feedback. Good job, Michelle. Okay, so if you think about it later on, send us an email, please. It's retinoblastoma.research@sickkids.ca. I'd be happy to discuss opportunities, how to participate, and how we can work together to create something together. Okay, so we're wrapping up today. There's a couple of things I want to make sure I mention to you before we leave. First is we're going to share a link for a survey in our chat. This is to improve, as we continue to improve and incorporate your feedback to make future events even better. The PEAT survey has been used in the past in our annual, in our symposium, and perhaps some other meetings and events that you've attended. So if you could please click on the link and complete that today, that would be very helpful. So after this meeting, you will also be receiving calendar invites to the quarterly meetings and the cup of tea events, which will be updated. The events themselves would then be updated closer to the events with more detailed information. So I know it'll be a little bit of a bombardment in email, but then you'll have everything in your calendar, and have plenty of time to make sure it's accounted for, and you'll be able to attend. And lastly, you'll also be receiving a summary of what we discussed, which will also include a reminder about our symposium, which will be happening April 20th and 21st. There will be a virtual and in-person options. In person, we're expanding to Vancouver, Toronto, and Halifax for this year. and the link to register will be in that email. So please make sure you watch out for that. And I have some other volunteers to be partners on some of the items we've discussed. So that's fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so does everybody have the link and is able to open it? I just want to confirm that's all okay. Anybody not have the link and has any problems with accessing the survey? Okay. Well, I would like to say thank you to everyone who attended today. I think this was a great meeting. We shared a lot of ideas and just show how there's so much that we want to know and so many results we want to hear about, that we can start tackling the mountain, and we need a volunteer help to make sure that we can tackle as much of it as we can. So any support that you could partner on would be fantastic. And I am looking forward to seeing you guys at the symposium. And before that, we'll be at their next cup of tea and quarterly meeting. Would anyone like to sign off with last words?
Just thank you to everyone for attending. Really appreciate you giving a Saturday morning to us, and see you all at the next CRRAB online and in person in April.
Can I just say as a patient that this is extremely valuable, and recognize that, you know, it's your guys' jobs to do this work, and you're also giving us your Saturday. So I really appreciate the thoughtfulness that goes into how to make our voices heard and allow us the opportunity to be part of the work in the future.
Thanks, Ella.
Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a nice warm day and enjoy your weekend.